Hi everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm bringing you... I messed up here. This is my July Librofm sale picks, not my July wrap up. It is not the end of July. I have a few apologies first. Number one, my fan is going on, my window is open, I'm melting, it's summer. Number two, when I was turning my fan on, I by accidentally hit my camera. I hope I'm in focus, but I don't know. So, fingers crossed. Number three, this, like most of my Librofm videos, is a long video. I already know it's going to be a long video. There are lots of good sales. So, just so you know, get yourself a drink because it's going to be a long video. Okay. Let's just start off with what is Librofm. If you're new to my channel, you might not know. Basically, every month I go through the sales for Librofm and I talk about the YA Club, the Romance Club, and just general new sale audiobooks to Librofm. Librofm is an independent audiobook subscription service. Basically, for $14.99, you can pay for 1 credit, so 1 audiobook per month. If you are an active member, you additionally get 30% off of any other books you buy a la carte. That includes their special sale books. So for active members, you'll get an additional 30% off the sale price. You do not need to have a paying subscription to buy these audiobooks. You just need an account, which you can sign up for free, and then you can buy any of these at their sale price. And I would definitely recommend all the ones I'm going to be chatting about today. There weren't that many on the YA Club playlist for this month, but the first one is The Floating World by Axio. This is a relatively recent release, so this is perfect for getting you ready for the sequel, which comes out this year, so even better. This is a swoony kind of fantasy. It has this world system where there's a world above the floating world and the world below, and it's a story about rebellion and about kind of realizing that what we think about someone may not actually be true. I can't go into full synopsises of all of these ones. Mostly I focus on books that I've read, so I can give kind of like mini snippet, one-sentence reviews. This one is a fantasy reimagining of the Korean legend of the Celestial Maidens. The sequel is coming out later this year. I really enjoyed this one because it chats about what happens when we think someone's going to be way and then they are not. So that is the first one. The next one is Tender Beast by Lizelle Sambury. Lizelle Sambury is one of the best kind of horror authors that I know of at the moment. I really loved Tender Beast, but I also really loved... okay, I'm going to look this up. I'm really excited for A Mastery of Monsters, which is coming out later this year. But I really loved one of Lizelle's previous books, which was a horror... Delicious Monsters. Delicious Monsters was the first book that I read that I really, really loved from Lizelle Sambury. And Tender Beast is a really, really good book where she's trying to clear the name of her brother. In this case, this book has a lot to do with family secrets and what happens when the family secrets might come out. So I had to recommend that one. The next one is The Singular Life of Arya Patel, which I have not read. It is in my cart. I have not read it. I love Samira Ahmed's book so much, and this is actually the most recent one from Samira Ahmed. I don't know if I have the e-copy, like the e-arc of this one, but I'm going to check this one out. But I've really loved Samira Ahmed's books. Samira is such a great author in the sense of being able to bite off a whole lot of different genres and kind of premises and being able to do them so well. Mad, Bad, Dangerous to Know, Hollow Fires. These ones were so great. And also Samira Ahmed, A Singular Life, I think has a sci-fi bend to it. It's supposed to be a second chance romance, and I think there's a parallel universe as well. So what can Samira Ahmed not write, I guess is the better question. And the final thing is Last Violent Call. The audiobook is on sale. This is a companion novel to These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends. Definitely recommend this one. It is just like, If you love the idea of an author coming out with an extra novella that is just purely what people want to read, fluff, beautiful, fun, like content that isn't necessarily tied to isn't necessarily tied to the bigger series that are coming up, this is also the perfect segue into Foul Lady Fortune. Last Violent Call is definitely it. I want more novellas to series which are just kind of giving us everything we want to read. The next one that I'm going to chat about now are in the Kiss Club playlist. Didn't have a ton of these ones as well. The majority of the sales that I'm going to talk about are in the sale audiobooks. The first one is Harley in the Sky. I love the way that Harley in the Sky chats about mother and daughter relationships. Basically, she is in a circus. She's a trapeze artist, and then she ends up leaving their famous circus after she has a fight and decides to go to school instead. And because of that, she has this kind of schism that she has with her family. And so I loved the elements of family, and I loved having to kind of figure out her role in her family, and what that is like for her, and specifically the relationship she has with her and her mom. I bought this for my mom after reading this, so that's all you really need to know. The Baby Dragon Cafe is on sale. This is in my cart. I actually have a physical copy of it on my shelf over there. It looks so cute. And also the sequel to the Baby Dragon Cafe is coming out later this year as well. I think it's called the Baby Dragon the Baby Dragon Bakery. I'm really excited for this one. It's been on my TBR for a while. A lot of my friends have really loved it, and basically it's going to be about a cafe which welcomes pet baby dragons. Like, what more do you really need about it? And it's a romance, it's a dual perspective, and of course there's going to be a happy ending. In the Weeds is on sale. This is the Lovelight Farms second book. If you've been looking at the Lovelight Farms book and have read Lovelight Farms but haven't continued the series, like me, In the Weeds has to be for you. At various times, they've all been on sale, so definitely keep an eye out on these videos if you want to slowly collect them all. That's what I did, and so this one is actually already in my library. And Ophelia, After All, is the last one in the Kiss Club. This is by Raquel Marine. This is Raquel's debut. It's basically about this girl. She knows that she's super, super romantic. And that's kind of what she thinks about herself as. And then she finds herself being torn between this really cute girl and also the knowledge that she lost this idea of the perfect prom with her ex-boyfriend. It's about her kind of questioning her queerness or questioning her identity. And it's also her about feeling like she is this hopeless romantic. So, like, is the version of the romance, is the version of what you think more important than actually what you might have feelings for, or who you might have feelings for? There's also friendship drama as well. It is just an all-around really, really fantastic YA book. And as I said, it's Raquel Marie's debut book. And now I want to talk about just the other sale audiobooks. There are a ton of them. And so let's just see. Let me just start off with Family Lore. This is on my TBR. I really love Elizabeth Acevedo's books, and this is Elizabeth's adult book. I have not read this one. It is in my library, but I have not read this one. And it's basically a story of a Dominican American family told through the voices of these different women in the family. So I'm very excited for this one. I already have it in my library. These books, if you've been noticing a theme, these videos have a theme of books I haven't read that should have read, or should read, should be reading, should have read. Anyway, The Guilt and the Shame. Translation State is on my TBR. I've been really intrigued in this one. It's about a missing translator. I've been really loving the idea of translation magic. I really wanted to read Translation States after reading A Memory Called Empire, or whatever it is. I'll leave the cover up on the screen. But this one I think is going to be on my summer TBR. I have a physical copy of this one, and I'm really excited about it. It's basically this idea of a missing translator which sets 3 lives on a collision course with ripple effects across the galaxy. That is almost a quote from the Librofm page. Iron and Embers, which is the first book in the Ashes of Thesmar, is also on sale. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I've been falling headfirst into the Ashes of Thesmar world, and this is a companion novel series to the Legends of Thesmar book series, which I'm halfway through and want to finish this year. This takes place with the sister character from the first one. She's an alchemist, and you definitely could read this series without reading the first series, but it makes a whole lot of sense in terms of how much the first character, how much Ren, the sister, has gone through in the first series already. So I would definitely say either read them tangentially or read them and then read Iron and Embers, because I've really enjoyed having that as a basis for going through the other parts of the series. And actually, I am going to start the third book in the Legends of Thesmar soon, because the second book in Iron and Embers is coming out in this month, actually, in July. The Grace of Kings is on my TBR. They've recently gotten new covers. I really love the old ones, but I had never ever read them. So this one is in my cart because I just need the extra kind of, incentive to listen to them or read them. And it is really long, like 22 hours. So fingers crossed for me. But I'm very excited to chip away at kind of like these backlist sci-fi books that I really want to read. A Woman is No Man is on sale, which I read in audiobook, and I really enjoyed A Woman is No Man. It is this book kind of deeply entrenched in family. It has chapters from 1990 and also has chapters from 2008. The chapters in 1990 are set in Palestine, and 2008 are set in Brooklyn. It's a story about culture, history, family, and this idea of tradition and change. It was really, really heart-wrenching. I listened to this one actually in audiobook, and I really enjoyed the audiobook narration. And it talks about family secrets and betrayal. It was really, really good. It was really, really hard to listen to at some points because of the betrayal, and it runs so deeply. But the dual timeline perspective is fabulous to talk about the ways that these secrets kind of take root and the power that we have, or that we give secrets. Sunbringer, which is the second book in the Fallen Gods trilogy, is on sale. I have not read Faithbreaker yet, so Sunbringer is the last book I read in the Fallen Gods trilogy. If you've read Godkiller and have not read Sunbringer, definitely read this one because it was such a good sequel. I cannot wait for Faithbreaker, which is also on my TBR for this year. A common theme. Act Your Age, Eve Brown, and Take a Hint, Danny Brown are on sale. These are the second and third book in the Brown sisters. I listened to Act Your Age, Eve Brown on audiobook. I really loved it. Spicy. I had to take a break. From that one while I was listening to that one on the train. And Take a Hint, Danny Brown is also on sale. And these are just really great books. Talia Hibbert is an auto-buy author for me. And these are the books I think that started it all. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and the Brown Sisters books. And I went back to previous backlist books. Like, I have really, really loved Talia Hibbert's books. If you love books about sisters, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, you definitely should read this one after you read the other ones, because you will then understand how it is for Eve to watch her sisters have these happy endings and to feel like she doesn't deserve one or feel like her happy ending isn't there yet. This one was fabulous. Definitely read this series. It is so good. P.S. I Hate You is one of my favorite books that I read this year. I read this kind of like the first book, basically. I read in 2025, which was also a great book. It has two exes, and basically they're not enemies, but they're definitely exes. They are united by the loss of her brother, and basically her brother is like, hey, my last wish is you and my best friend, you have to go on this kind of road trip to all these places that I wanted to go to, or that I did go to. And it was so good. It is so deeply devoted to talking about loss and talking about characters who can't get it together with the people they love, but it is not too late. That is a major theme in this book, and I really loved it. It really well balances loss and love, but it does talk a lot about loss and talks a lot about grief and anger and grief too, which I thought was really refreshing. I Was a Teenage Slasher is on sale. I listened to this on audiobook. It is fantastic. Like, I was not expecting to love I Was a Teenage Slasher so much. I really, really loved the Only Good Indians series before from Stephen Graham Jones, and I wasn't sure what to expect with this one. But if you've ever rooted for a serial killer, you definitely should read this one. And it also like makes you think about what happens at the end, I guess is how I'll say it. It feels very meta in the same way that this is inspired, and it knows a lot about horror tropes and tropes within horror, which is really, really fun. But it's also narrated by the teenage serial killer. Like, it is just really good and surprisingly heartfelt for a book like this. It is so different than the other book that I read from Stephen Graham Jones, the other series, but it has some of these similar kind of homage to the lore of horror and horror movies. Like, it is just really, really good, and I would highly recommend this one to you. The Love Lyric, which is the third book in the Green Sisters series, is on sale. This is a connected also book series about sisters. Would definitely have to recommend this one. This one is an R&B singer and a corporate executive, and this is the third one. So basically the first two were the first two sisters, and the third one. I love this blend of romance and sisterhood and family, and it was just really, really cute to read this whole series. Jade City is on sale. Jade City is one of my favorites of all time. It's about magical jade in this series where they have family clans. It's a lot about family and loyalty, and each series or each sequel in this series kind of zooms out more and more. The first one is about the family, the second one's kind of about the island, and the third one's kind of about the island within the place of the world. It is so good. I love Jade City so much. It is about these questions about loyalty and ultimately sacrifice. What will we do for our family, and what won't we do for our family? Immortal Dark is on sale. This came out, when did this came out? It came out last year, and it's still one of my favorite vampire books. It really, really well handled vampires. I know that vampires are having a renaissance now, but this one was so good, and also did rivals/enemies in dark academia fantasy so well. I don't know what I was expecting. I cannot wait for the second one. I've already pre-ordered it. And also the first printings of these are gorgeous. But basically, it was about a lost heiress who infiltrates an arcane society to find the vampire she thinks killed her sister. And it was just so good. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, because I think I had read in before this a lot of urban fantasy flops, but this one I was just swept away. It was so good. Definitely have to recommend that one. And as I said, the sequel is coming out later this year. Long Live Evil was really good for people who love a good anti-hero, specifically like a villainess. Basically, she has a series of books that she really loves, and then kind of gets plopped into the book series, except she hasn't necessarily read all the book series. And so she's kind of trying to figure out what her role is in the book series, and as the books are being acted out. So she kind of knows some things that are going to happen, but not all of them. And she really kind of looks at what it is to be a villain, what it is to be in this world, and the side characters in this is fairly great. It's great for book lovers, honestly, and it was one of my favorite books that I read when I read it. I'm not exactly sure, I think this came out last year. I'm not exactly sure when the sequel is coming out, but it was fantastic. A Lady for a Duke is on sale. This is a queer historical fiction romance. So good, honestly, one of my favorite queer historical fiction romance, only rivaled by The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. But A Lady for a Duke is so, it's just so heartwarming. I love it so much. It's somewhere on my shelf, actually. It is basically about a woman, and she is presumed dead at Waterloo, and when she's presumed dead in battle, she decides to live the life that she wants to as herself, and she ends up coming into contact with one of her closest companions, who doesn't recognize her anymore. And so she realizes how impacted he was by the loss of who she was, and she realizes that she needs to help him, but he doesn't know really who she is. So I loved this one so much. It was like historical fiction romance done right, and the fact that it is queer is just the icing on the cake. Sparks fly between childhood friends, which was fantastic. Like, it was just so, so, so good. Interesting Facts About Space is on my TBR and it is on sale. It's read by Natalie Naudus. Natalie is one of my favorite audiobook narrators. I feel like I mentioned this in every Librofm video. I really, really enjoyed Interesting Facts About Space. Basically, the main character, Enid, she's obsessed with space. And so she's also been dating a lot of women from apps, and she, at the end, is trying to navigate her new relationship with her estranged half sisters. There are a lot of different things going on, but what I loved actually are the relationships she has with her half sisters and her family. And it was really, really good. This was my first Emily Austen book, and I want to read more books by Emily Austen, but Natalie Naudus is the icing on the cake of this book, which took me to places I did not expect. But as I said, the family elements and the family exploration is probably my favorite. I loved The Deep so much. Rivers Solomon is one of my favorite authors. I really loved Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon, and this was fabulous because it has this idea of kind of like intergenerational trauma. Basically, these African enslaved women were tossed overboard and has since then become basically water-breathing descendants, essentially kind of like mermaids. So it has this kind of idea of intergenerational trauma and this birthplace of trauma. And so basically our main character, she holds all the memories of her people. And it was a book about memory, it's a book about trauma, and it's a book about what we can do to continue onwards. Basically, it is a novella, and it was so good. It's also based on a song called The Deep, which I didn't even know until I read this one. If you've been looking for a really insightful novella which also has essentially kind of mermaid characters, this one is for you, and I really love River Solomon's books. Chain Gang All-Stars is in my library, which I have not read yet, but I remember when everyone was obsessed with Chain Gang All-Stars, and so I bought it, but I haven't read it yet, and it should be honestly in one of my TBR for the year. It's a dystopian book, and it just looks really, really good. As I said, I don't know actually anyone who didn't love Chain Gang All-Stars, and I remember around that same time that it came out, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't read this one yet. And literally everyone I talked to who had read it was like, you need to read this. Like, you need to read this one right now. So I haven't. But I own it. And I want to read it this year. Hell Followed With Us is on sale by Andrew Joseph White. This is actually Andrew's first book, debut book. Hell Followed With Us is this book that has like this horror, how do you describe it? It's like this book about a is it post-apocalyptic? Basically. Because the main character is on the run from a cult that basically unleashed Armageddon and decimated the world's population. So definitely it's post-apocalyptic. It is so good. It's this book about monstrosity, and it has a little bit, like, it's a bit gory, but it has a story about monstrosity, what happens when we think of ourselves as monsters or when society thinks of us as monsters. So it's this beautiful book that manages to talk about that, but in this sort of like gory horror setting. It was really, really great, and it just kind of set my love of Andrew Joseph White's stories in motion, and I've loved all of them that I've read, but Hell Followed With Us is certainly the first one that started it all. Swift and Saddled is on sale. This is actually the second book in the Done and Dusted Rebel Blue Ranch series, which I fell into. I went to an event for Swift and Saddled, and I hadn't read the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and yet I love it, and I've also gotten them all for my mom. It is just this beautiful story about romance, and it's about family. It is so good. I've loved to be part of this world, and specifically the end, the way that it kind of comes together and talks about all of these different relationships and these romances as a whole was beautiful. This series deserves all the hype. When Women Were Dragons is on my TBR, and I remember having or hearing about this one and really enjoying how it sounds. I haven't read it yet, but basically it is a book about a girl who lives in a world like ours, except there's been the mass dragoning of 1955, which are where when wives and mothers sprouted wings and turned into dragons. What more can there be to love about that one? I haven't read it yet, but it is pretty high up on my TBR. Literally so many times that I've said this in this video. Blood Over Bright Haven is also on sale. It is really good. This is a story about academia, but it's about magic and corruption. So this was I first described this to someone as like if Letty from Babel was the main character of the book. The ending is fantastic. I love the ending so much, but it's also about kind of realizing that the struggles and the oppression and the lack of resources that we have doesn't necessarily mean that other people don't have it worse. Basically, she's a woman and she is trying to make it in this society, in this academic institution that kind of like hates women, of course. But when she becomes a high mage, she's then paired with a colleague, a lab assistant who is a janitor, who they're like, ha ha ha, like, let's just give her this person as a janitor. But basically, he is part of a group of people, and I'm not actually sure, I can't remember the names of the group of people, but basically he is part of a group of people who is certainly at a lower point in the oppression than they are. So basically, if like white men, basically if dudes hate women, like dudes and women also hate these people, like that's kind of the tier of hierarchy for this society. And so she has to really kind of navigate the fact that, like, yes, her life isn't great as a woman in academics, or I guess as a woman in general, but like his life is a lot worse. And so it's about her trying to realize her own privilege in a way in which she has been like, well, I'm not privileged because men hate me and the world is so deeply sexist. But it's like, no, you still have privilege and you still need to examine it to interact with other people in this world. So that's what Blood Over Bright Haven is like. Mexican Gothic is on sale. Mexican Gothic is the first book I ever read by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and it is so deserving of the hype. Mushrooms. This is the mushroom book. It is so deserving of the hype. If you love like this idea of like haunted houses, haunted locales, this is it. Family secrets, this is it. The root, like the corruption that goes down to the root, this is for you. It was so good. Like every bit of hype this book has, it deserves. It is stunning, and it definitely started my love of Silvia Moreno Garcia. The Poppy War is on sale. The Poppy War, I mean, what can I really say about the Poppy War? Everybody knows how much I love the Poppy War. Basically, I have a whole shelf dedicated to the Poppy War and R.F. Kuang. It is this book that deserves all of the hype. It was blurred by N.K. Jemisin. N.K. Jemisin is one of the greatest. Okay. I did not anticipate the fact that I would be recording so much today that my memory card would be full. So we're going to finish the rest of this video on my phone, which I did not set up necessarily to film, so I have to kind of like crouch down. I'm very sorry. I only have 2 more books, so let's just get this going. The next book I want to chat about is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. If you have not read a Becky Chambers book, you need to start and you need to read this book. If you love sci-fi, but if you love a story about group dynamic, like a crew dynamic and found family, this is it. It is so good. I love this series 2 pieces. Every book is slightly different, but it's all kind of in like a connected world, and it is fantastic. Basically, if you want to follow a crew bumble around through space to find the meaning of family, this is it. It is so good. And the last one I want to chat about is the 5th season. I've mentioned that N.K. Jemisin is fantastic, and the 5th season is brilliant. I love the 5th season so much. I'm glad that it's starting to get a lot more hype because it deserves it so much. If you love fantasy that will really make you think, the 5th season, like, expanded my mind. I'm a smarter person for having read the 5th season. I don't even know how to describe what happens in the 5th season, but basically a quote that I'm going to pull from Librofm, because I guess this is a decent way to describe it, is, "At the end of the world, a woman must hide her secret power and find her kidnapped daughter." I think that the 5th season kind of defies explanation in a lot of ways. It's just one of those books that you have to experience. I have not read a synopsis really consistently gets it down, because it is so difficult to explain, specifically as someone who's finished the series. It is so difficult to explain, but this world building is so intricate and nuanced. It is fabulous. It came out in 2015, so basically a decade ago, and it deserves 5 million stars in the sky. It truly, truly made me rethink about books and fantasy, and this book within the fantasy genre is such a hidden gem. I wish that this was taught everywhere. N.K. Jemisin, this started my N.K. Jemisin love. I basically powered through this series. Then I started reading the past series from N.K. Jemisin, and then I read the City We Became series. It is just such a fantastic book series, and one of my all-time favorites. So this month, honestly, with the Poppy War, with the 5th season, with all of these different, with A Long Way, what is it? A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet? I can never get that title right. These sale books have one of, some of my all-time favorite books of all time in this sale, and so I knew that I had to make this video, because if you haven't read some of these, which to be fair, you saw all the books I haven't read, sometimes really, really good books kind of just slip by and you're not really sure, but these ones, 100% worth it. So anyway, sorry that I'm now shrinking. It's only accurate because I'm literally melting in a pool of my own sweat. I hope that you really enjoy this book series, or this series of videos where I chat about these sales. Let me know down below what you are reading, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!